As iOS 18.4 approaches, here's a recap of everything new in 18.3. So iOS 18.4 is right on the precipice. In fact, it could be released as early as today. However, of course, iOS 18.3 was released officially last week, and it came with an updated build number, which indicates it's a little bit different than the RC release. Now, some people find it hard to get excited about releases like this because 18.3 isn't packed with a ton of exciting user-facing features. However, just like most updates, it does come with its fair share of bug and security fixes, and that's one reason I would definitely recommend upgrading, regardless of whatever else is included with this update. You get a ton of different security fixes, so again, for that reason alone, I recommend updating. There are also bug fixes, for instance, where the keyboard might disappear when using Type to Siri, so that's obviously going to be inconvenient if that happens. There's also an issue that's been resolved where audio playback would continue happening even with the music app closed. Now, here's one of the biggies. In iOS 18.3, Apple Intelligence is enabled by default, so now it is opt-out. So if you have a phone that runs Apple Intelligence, it'll be on when you install 18.3. Now, just a reminder, if you appreciate videos like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more. Now, notification summaries, I guess this is sort of the big story with 18.3 where Apple made some tweaks to the way notification summaries work. So in case you were in the dark about this, basically notification summaries is a feature for Apple Intelligence that summarizes when you have a batch of notifications and condenses it into one summarized notification using AI. Now, Apple wants you to know that this is a beta feature, so they made that much more prominent in this update. It tells you it's a beta feature, sometimes it will make mistakes, etc. And another thing they've done is they've disabled the news and entertainment category because that is where some of the problems stemmed with some false headlines or misleading headlines generated by Apple Intelligence notification summary. So that has been temporarily disabled, as you can see there with those entertainment categories. Apple says that that will be re-enabled in the future. Now, there's also updated styling for summarized notifications. So you can see this is a summary. You see the icon and the italicized text to indicate it is a summary of all these regular notifications. So that is a styling change to help you know that you're looking at a summary. There's also the ability to disable summaries right from the lock screen by going to Option and then going to turn off the summaries just like this. So you can easily turn those off at any time, and now you see the italics are gone. And there's also more qualitative feedback options for Apple Intelligence notification summaries. So if you go in and report a concern, you get a lot more detail that you can provide with regard to those summaries and feedback that you provide Apple. Now, there's also visual intelligence updates. So of course, visual intelligence is available on iPhone 16 devices by holding the camera control button. So now it can easily identify plants and animals. So I just hold a plant in front of this. It pops right up. I just tap on it and it will give you more information about that particular plant or animal. And there's also the ability to add an event to a calendar. So if you walk by a billboard or some sort of other advertisement and it has a date or some sort of event, you just use visual intelligence. You can tap right there on the screen to identify that and add it directly to your calendar, which is actually pretty cool. So you can see all the details. It pulls right in and you just tap schedule and that will add it to your calendar. Here's the calendar. You can see the event name, the location. It even gives you the time, of course, and date, and even also includes a little screenshot of the image. There's also a camera debug panel. Now, this is not user accessible, but we were able to gain access to this debug panel that basically lets you change various parameters for visual intelligence. It's actually pretty cool, some of the things you can do in there. And there's also a debug option for ChatGPT. So this is where Apple sets the parameters to sort of massage the responses to their liking. And there's also a visual intelligence control center shortcut that we were able to find. That's not user facing yet, but hopefully in the future, users will gain access to this visual intelligence control center shortcut. And there's also camera control updates. So you get game mode detection. Again, this is something that Apple is apparently testing, because right now, if you try to use visual intelligence with game mode enabled, it'll say it's unavailable. But Apple's apparently testing a feature that will change the sensitivity of the camera control button when using game mode. There's also an updated camera control icon when in dark mode here in the accessibility settings. So if we switch over to dark mode here, you can see the camera control icon there. Now there's other features here in 18.3. The calculator app gets the ability to repeat calculations. So for instance, if you say 2 plus 2, all you have to do is continue to tap the equal sign and it will continue to add 2, just like that. So definitely a handy feature to bring back. Apple also includes sleep apnea alerts for Brazilian users, so that is a new rollout for iOS 18.3. Now let's talk about some stuff that Apple is testing. One such feature has to do with older iOS devices that still have the ringer silent switch. So Apple's testing something that will allow you to invoke focus modes by flipping that switch. Apple is also testing updates to screen recording / streaming. And that's of course accessible via the control center. And now in an update, you're going to be able to change to a stereo microphone. You're also going to be able to have a live camera view, and it will support HDR capture. There's also new zoom transitions in the Shortcuts app. So you'll notice here when I open up this shortcut, see the little zoom transition. And when I dismiss it, you see it zoom out. Apple's also working on a Shortcuts icon picker redesign. So let's go into the icon picker. You're going to notice some subtle changes. Most notably, you'll notice bigger icons, bigger assets. You also notice that the corner radius has changed a little bit. So it's a little bit more rounded on the edges. And I just think it looks better. And also you notice the bolder section headings as well. There's also intermediate outputs for shortcuts. So when you go in and edit the shortcut, you can see the little I button next to each action. So this will make it easier to debug shortcuts to be able to check what each step is producing. And of course, we've already reported on the Invites app that Apple's working on. There's evidence in the code in 18.3, along with evidence that Apple is still working on next-gen CarPlay. Apple's also working to add a new Create Image option that uses image playgrounds for Apple Music playlist covers. That's a pretty good use case scenario for that. There's also new fluid navigation transitions that Apple's working on. So basically what this allows you to do is to go back like this from anywhere. Just swipe like that. So instead of having to swipe from the left edge of the screen like you have to do now, to go back. So normally you have to swipe over from the very left like that. But now with these fluid navigation transitions, you'll be able to swipe just like that. Apple's still testing that. There's also new fluid transitions for pinned contacts. So you can see the pinned contacts in the Message app. So I just tap on that and you can see that little transition. Sorry about my voice. And then you also have the new pin action. When you swipe on a message thread like that, you have the ability to pin directly from that swipe action. And there's new music app bottom bar features. So here's something else Apple is testing now, being able to access your AirPlay options directly from the bottom bar, as you can see there. So that's a pretty handy little feature. Of course, you have play, pause, and all that, but you can also access your source destinations right here as well. And if you swipe, you can switch over between your various AirPlay destinations. So you can see right there, switching between the phone and the bedroom, just like that. And I can swipe over again and I can add additional destinations if I choose to do so. So that's pretty cool. Now you can also change up queuing features. So let me show you how that works. So you just tap right here and you can grab the queue or you can transfer the queue to another AirPlay device, or you can transfer it back to your phone if you want to from an AirPlay device. So that's really awesome. There's also the ability to swipe to switch between tracks right there on the bottom bar. So notice here, I'm going to switch over here and now I'm going to swipe between my tracks. So here we go. So watch what happens when I swipe. See how it's switching tracks? Swipe left, swipe right, go back, go forward. There's also a new games button or all games button in the App Store Arcade tab. So you see this little button here in the upper right hand corner. That's something else Apple is testing. And there you go. So ladies and gents, that is a recap of everything new in iOS 18.3. Stay tuned for more. And if you appreciate videos like this, be sure to check out these videos and subscribe to the channel. This is Jeff Benjamin with the 9 to 5 Mac.